today's agenda, we'll open with brief remarks by myself. We'll have a public hearing, which will be held on the proposed resolution to authorize board members to attend meetings by video conference in private locations under extraordinary circumstances. Following the public hearing, we will continue with the board meeting and address the following items. Review and approval of the meeting minutes from the Cannabis Control Board meeting held on September 20th. We'll have consideration of 2 registered organizations change in ownership applications. Consideration of applications for adult use conditional cultivator licenses and adult use conditional processor licenses. Then we'll move into the much anticipated consideration of adult use regulations, beginning with refiling the packaging, labeling, marketing, and advertising regulations, as well as the refiling of the cannabis laboratory regulations and the extending the cannabis laboratory emergency regulations. Then we will turn our attention to the consideration of applications for the cannabis laboratory permit holders, as well as the much anticipated conditional adult use retail dispensary licenses. Thereafter, we'll move on to consider the adult use regulations package, followed by the hearing and enforcement emergency regulations. Then we'll have a report from the Office of Cannabis Management, our Executive Director, Chris Alexander, a brief presentation by Board Member Ruben McDaniel, public comment on the items considered during today's board meeting from individuals who have joined us here in person today, and then finally we'll adjourn. So as you see, we're looking at a long meeting today. However, since March, we've been steadfast in advancing the Seeding Opportunity Initiative, starting with New York family farmers, then licensing conditional processors. Today, we'll continue to advance that effort with another round of conditional cultivator and conditional processor licenses. Additionally, we're also looking to close the loop on the initial adult use cannabis supply chain with consideration of 37 conditional adult use dispensary or card applications. Those 37 applicants, including 29 justice-involved individuals and 8 not-for-profit enterprises. This is the last leg of the Seeding Opportunity Initiative, through which New York has launched the cannabis market in New York State, relying on family farmers and small businesses. However, we know that very little is achieved by just a few, and the work to prepare New York State for this moment is the result of a comprehensive approach led by Governor Hochul's administration. We here at OCM have been joined by agency partners across the administration to prepare New York State to support the cannabis industry and our businesses. Over the past few months, we've been able to share the collaborative work we've engaged with DASNY, led by our board member, Ruben McDaniel. And now I'm going to take a moment to highlight 3 additional agencies that are similarly working to lay the groundwork for the New York cannabis market. We'll begin with the New York State Department of Labor. They're working to encourage the growth in New York's cannabis industry with the launch of the New York State Department of Labor's Cannabis Employment, Education, and Development Unit, or CEED, C-E-E-D, which is designed to assist both job seekers and businesses who work in the adult use medical cannabis and cannabinoid hemp industries. Through CEED, the DOL connects workers to a variety of employment opportunities in this emerging field, and they also provide support to businesses so they may thrive in the New York economy. DOL educates businesses on changes to labor laws as it pertains to adult use cannabis and the workplace, as well as provides template language for employee handbooks specific to cannabis. DOL connects businesses with job seekers for targeted recruitments, future apprenticeship, and on-the-job training opportunities in cannabis. They're currently supporting the workforce by identifying cannabis training and education programs and providing the most up-to-date information on working in cannabis. Lastly, DOL is developing industry interview questions and transferable skills guidance. Please visit DOL at their website, which I believe is here on the screen as well as in a printed handout. It's dol.ny.gov / cannabis workforce development for more information about labor laws and careers. Next, I want to highlight the New York State Insurance Fund, who has over a century of experience supporting new industries, and they're proactively helping the cannabis entrepreneurs comply with mandatory workers' compensation and disability benefits. These insurances protect workers if they're injured on the job and off the job. So NYSEF has attended, sponsored, and exhibited at numerous New York cannabis events and conferences around the state, with the goal of educating cannabis businesses about the statutory requirements surrounding workers' comp as well as disability benefits, and to help them secure affordable coverage. NYSEF encourages cannabis cultivators, processors, and our soon-to-be retailers to contact them when they have received their licenses. But you can always find further information at their site, which again is on the sheet that you have as well as on the screen, NYSEF.com / cannabis. With NYSEF, the licensed cannabis businesses across New York State will be compliant with the state law, and NYSEF is the largest workers' comp insurer in New York State. They offer over 100 safety groups, which many in the cannabis industry will be eligible for. And these safety groups, which are packages of insurance, offer savings of nearly 50% off the cost of standard workers' compensation premiums. NYSEF also provides their policyholders with numerous free resources. And finally, I want to touch upon our Department of Financial Services, DFS. Today, the Department of Financial Services issued new insurance guidance to remind all insurers that following the decriminalization of the possession, sale, or use of marijuana in New York State, that it is illegal to make underwriting decisions based on certain arrests, criminal convictions, including expunged cannabis-related criminal convictions. Some insurers use past criminal convictions when underwriting insurance policies. The use of past convictions in underwriting includes decisions on whether to accept or deny an application, the cost of a policy, or the terms and conditions of coverage. DFS guidance to insurers clarifies that insurers should have processes and controls in place to ensure that they do not inquire about nor act adversely based upon information about certain criminal convictions, including expunged cannabis convictions. This responsibility covers application questions and information obtained by using third-party data sources. So for additional information, please visit nydfs.com or contact them at public.affairs@dfs.ny.gov for any further questions. Today, these collective efforts by the state are of particular importance because we are rounding the corner and we're operationalizing cannabis market is within reach. Later in the agenda, we're going to consider a broad set of adult use regulations that will define cannabis license types, as well as rules and regulations, while implementing the two-tier market structure established by the MRTA. But first, I'd like to provide a brief update on the Seeding Opportunity Initiative. We currently have 261 adult use conditional cultivator licensees that are growing and harvesting the first legal, regulated adult use cannabis in New York State. Additionally, we have 25 approved conditional processing licensees that are taking cannabis grown by cultivators and making it retail-ready products. We will be approving more of each license type today, which will to the last leg of the Seeding Opportunity Initiative, the conditional retail dispensary licenses or card licenses. The first wave of license applications will be considered later in today's meeting. But first, we're going to move on to the first item before us today, the public hearing to consider the proposed resolution number 2022-40, which authorizes members of the board to attend meetings remotely from private locations under extraordinary circumstances in compliance with our open meetings law. By way of explanation, under the open meetings law, public bodies can allow members to attend meetings by video conference from locations that are not open to the public under what the law calls extraordinary circumstances. Such circumstances include disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor that keeps a board member from physically attending a meeting in person. With this proposed resolution and related written procedure, a board member will be allowed to participate in a meeting via video conference from a private location under extraordinary circumstances. We are now going to open the floor to any member of the public who would like to offer comments or testimony related specifically to resolution number 2022-40. This is to comment only on the resolution at hand, and there will be and I just want to remind everyone that there will be an opportunity for open public comment at the end of this board meeting for other related related issues, okay? Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address this resolution? Okay, going once, going twice. I think that's it. Hearing no comments to the proposed resolution, we'll now conclude the public hearing. And before we vote on this resolution, I'm going to ask the fellow board members if they would like to have any discussion on this proposed resolution.
Madam Chair, my only comment would be, as the president of DASNY, another public authority, we've also adopted these same regulations and rules. So I think it's consistent with other state agencies and authorities.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, concerns? Okay. Therefore, may I please have a motion to approve resolution number 2022-40, a resolution to authorize, I'm sorry.
I thought you were.
Give me one sec. The resolution to authorize board members to attend meetings by video conference from private locations under extraordinary circumstances and adopt the related board procedure.
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any other additional comments or concerns? Hearing none. I'll call for the vote. Ms. Metzger?
Aye.
Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative as well. The motion to approve resolution number 2022-40, a resolution to authorize Cannabis Control Board members to attend meetings by video conference from private locations under extraordinary circumstances and to adopt the related board procedure carries. Now let's move on to review and approval of the meeting minutes from September 20th, 2022, Cannabis Control Board meeting. May I please have a motion to consider and approve the September 20th, 2022 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries. Let's see, the minutes are approved. The next order of business before us is the consideration of change in ownership for two registered organizations in the medical cannabis program. In the interest of time, I'm going to propose a motion to consider these two resolutions together as one item. May I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-35 and resolution 2022-36?
Move approval.
We have a motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Before we begin the discussion, are there any board members that plan to recuse from this discussion and or vote?
Madam Chair, I would like to recuse myself to avoid the potential appearance of a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Member Garcia.
And
I
I'll-
acknowledge recusals. Sorry. Yes, Mr. Perry?
yes, and I'll be abstaining from any consideration of the matter related to ethane. And just in advance for when it comes up, I cannot, but for ethane, abstaining.
Let me see. Which resolution is that?
35.
35. Okay, so just for the record, Mr. Perry will be abstaining from Resolution 2022-35. Okay. So now I'll ask our Executive Director, Chris Alexander, to provide an overview of the registered organization change in ownership resolutions that are in front of the board today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For background, currently 10 registered organizations in the New York program providing care to New York's medical cannabis patients. Before the board are resolutions that, if approved, would allow the proposed changes in ownership for 2 of those organizations, specifically Etain and NY Canna. Following a review of documents submitted by the registered organizations in accordance with the cannabis law and its existing regulations, the Office of Cannabis Management recommends approval of these changes in ownership proposals for the board's review and approval. Approval of these changes will allow the continuation and advancement of these registered organizations' ability to provide medical cannabis to registered patients. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions and/or discussion related to the resolutions before us? Members? Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote to consider these resolutions together as one vote. However, we have noted that Mr. Perry is abstaining from voting on 2022-35. So Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel,
Aye.
Mr. Perry
Abstain.
for 3035 and for 3036?
Correct, just abstaining on those 2 items, but in the affirmative on any
Oh,
others.
For 3030 and for 3036. So I'm sorry, I'm going to correct the record. Mr. Perry is abstaining from both 35 and 36.
Correct.
And then I vote in the affirmative as well. Okay. Therefore, 3 affirmative votes, the motion carries. And at this time, we'd like to ask Ms. Garcia to please come and join us again. Concerning the next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-41? It's a resolution issuing certain conditional adult use cultivator licenses.
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All right. And before we begin the discussion, are there any board members that plan to recuse from the discussion and vote on any of these applications before us? Okay. If none, we'll move on. Mr. Alexander, could you please provide a brief overview of the resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are excited to continue to license through the Seeding Opportunity Initiative New York small farmers to participate in the conditional cultivator program. The 16 applications in front of the board, if approved, will bring the total to 277 conditional cultivators, small farmers participating in our cannabis program. So I have no further comments, but look forward to answering any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board related to this application? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative as well. The motion to approve resolution number 2022-41, a resolution issuing certain conditional adult use cultivator licenses carries. I think we have that on the screen here. Concerning the next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-42, our resolution issuing certain adult use conditional processor licenses.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
And before we begin, are there any recusals and or abstentions related to this resolution? Hearing none, I'm going to ask our executive director to provide an overview of the processor license resolution, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, furthering the seeding opportunity initiative, these additional 8 conditional processors will continue to help bolster New York's market, taking the raw cannabis product grown by our cultivators and transforming it into additional cannabis products. So we're really excited to continue to advance the program with today.
Are there any questions and/or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Ms. Metzger?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative as well. The motion to approve resolution number 2022-42, consideration of adult use conditional processor licenses carries. For our next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-43, a resolution to permit the Office of Cannabis Management to adopt revised packaging, labeling, marketing, and advertising regulations.
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Are there any board recusals and/or abstentions related to this matter? Hearing none, I'll now move on and ask Lila Hunt, our Deputy Director of Public Health and Campaigns, to address the regulations, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and hello, everyone. The proposed regulations for Part 128 and 129 pertaining to packaging, labeling, marketing, and advertising were approved by the board on June 1st and were subsequently released for a 60-day public comment period. The public comment period ended on August 15th, and the office received over 730 total comments submitted by 158 unique commenters. Comments were submitted from a wide variety of interest groups, including private citizens, elected officials, public interest groups, public health and medical associations, addiction medical specialists, cannabis industry stakeholders, environmental stakeholders, and media organizations. Staff reviewed each comment and revised the regulations in response to these comments. These revisions give licensees more flexibility when designing packaging and labeling and prevents cannabis products from being attractive to those under 21. Revisions to the draft rules include allowing licensees to include more than one logo or brand element on a package, which allows them to co-brand with other licensees, removing the requirement for a plain white background with black text on the front of a package, allowing the cultivar or strain name and brand names that might reference other foods, candies, beverages, and more, so those rules would not impact strains or businesses already known to consumers. The universal symbol was also updated, as you see here on the slide, to limit it to 3 colors total for the ease of the additional costs, and the requirement for the universal symbol to appear on the front of a package was removed, meaning it can appear anywhere on the package to allow flexibility. Revisions allow customer incentive programs to be used only if their purpose is part of implementing a licensee's submitted retail packaging sustainability program, such as a package redemption program. Similarly, the revisions made to the marketing and advertising regulations will help licensees by making the rules clearer and easier to interpret. Preventing marketing to those under 21 continues to be a hallmark of these rules. Rules were clarified to better account for types of advertisements like audio-only ads, where implementing certain requirements like warnings could be challenging. Clarifications were made to the rules about advertising at or in connection with a sponsored event. Revisions were made to ensure advertisements are not misleading, such as prohibiting medical symbols and clarifying usage of terms such as organic, craft, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Just make a quick comment. I want to express appreciation to the public for all of their great input on this, and to staff for their responsiveness to that. And I think that the changes just enable a lot more creativity and flexibility, and that's so important in packaging. And I also, of course, want to note that we have really the most leading, robust, sustainable packaging program in the country. So I'm looking forward to further feedback on that.
Are there any additional questions or comments? from the board? All right. So we've got a motion before us. I'll call for the vote. Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel,
Echoing Ms. Metzger's comments, I would say aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative as well. So the motion to approve resolution number 2022-43, a resolution to direct the Office of Cannabis Management to file certain revised amendments to packaging, labeling, marketing, and advertising regulations carries. Now we will consider refiling of the cannabis laboratory regulations. May I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-44, a resolution to permit the Office of Cannabis Management to adopt revised cannabis laboratory regulations.
So moved.
I have a first, may I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. And before we begin, are there any recusals or abstentions? Hearing none. I'm now going to ask Ms. Nicole Quackenbush. Is she available online? Okay, we do have her. Our Director of Health and Safety to provide an overview of the regulations.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. In June, the Cannabis Control Board directed us to file laboratory regulations for public comment. The public comment period ended on August 15th, and the revised laboratory regulations before you today incorporate the exceptional input that we received during the comment period. The revisions include, but are not limited to, clarifications for proficiency test provider requirements, personnel requirements, and ownership requirements. Additionally, these revised regulations incorporate a few slight adjustments that will align these regulations with the emergency regulations that were issued by the board in August. If approved by the board today, the revised regulations will be published in the New York State Register on December 7th, and that will begin a 45-day public comment period. The emergency regulations that were approved by the board and went into effect on August 16th will continue to remain in effect until December 14th. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Nicole. Are there any questions, comments, concerns from the board? Okay. Otherwise, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative as well. The motion to approve resolution number 2022-44, a resolution to permit the Office of Cannabis Management to adopt revised cannabis laboratory regulations carries. Next before us is the extending emergency cannabis laboratory regulations. May I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-43, a resolution directing the Office of Cannabis Management to extend emergency cannabis laboratory regulations.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
And before we begin the discussion, any recusals or abstentions? Hearing none. Nicole, if you don't mind, will you please provide an overview for this resolution?
Sure. Thank you again, Madam Chair. So as we just discussed and the board voted, the revised regulations will be going out for a second public comment period. While that process continues, we have emergency laboratory regulations that are in effect today. Those regulations that were approved by the board on August 16th to ensure that the adult use cannabis products made from cannabis grown by family farmers across New York State will be tested to a regulatory standard to help protect the health and safety of consumers. Since these emergency regulations expire on December 14th, which is prior to the date that the public comment period will end for those revised regulations that we just approved, this resolution would extend the emergency regulations for an additional 120 days to remain in effect until March 14th of 2023. If the board approves the extension of the emergency regulations, they will be renewed before they expire on December 14th. No changes have been made to the emergency regulations since they were originally approved by the board in August. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Are there any questions, comments, concerns from the board? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel,
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative as well. The motion to approve resolution number 2022-45, a resolution directing the Office of Cannabis Management to extend emergency cannabis laboratory regulations carries. Now we'll move on to consideration of the cannabis laboratory permit holders. May I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-46, a resolution to approve certain cannabis laboratory permit holders.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any recusals or abstentions? Hearing none, I'll go back to Ms. Quackenbush. May I ask you to please provide an overview of the labs before us today?
Sure. So with the emergency regulations that went into effect on August 16th, we were able to immediately authorize those cannabis laboratories that were previously certified by the Department of Health for medical cannabis testing. Those laboratories may now conduct testing for medical cannabis and adult use cannabis programs. The emergency regulations also allowed us to open an application window for laboratories to apply. Since opening the application window, the office received applications from 3 laboratories that were interested in conducting medical and adult use cannabis testing. The laboratories before you today are BioTrax Testing Laboratory located in Erie County, Kaija, New York, located in Albany County, and Keystone State Testing located in Broome County. These laboratories have met the requirements for their facilities and staffing to be permitted by the board in accordance with the emergency regulations that are in effect. If the board votes to permit these 3 new labs today, they will still need to complete their demonstration of capability to the satisfaction of the office before they can begin their testing operations. I do want to point out as well that not all labs perform the same scope of testing. It is information on our website regarding the scope of testing can be found, and I do encourage those licensees in New York State to review that information. I'd also like to thank the team in prioritizing and reviewing these applications as we work to make safer products available to New Yorkers. Having sufficient lab testing capacity will be crucial to the launch of this new market in New York State.
Thank you, Nicole. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel,
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative as well. And resolution number 2022-46, a resolution to approve certain cannabis laboratory permit holders carries. Our next item, let's move on to our next item, which is the much awaited consideration of our first round of conditional adult use retail dispensary licenses or card licenses. This is a monumental moment, and it represents the last leg of the cannabis supply chain that requires licensure. Not long ago, the idea of New York legalizing cannabis seemed unbelievable. Now, not only have we legalized, but we're also building a legal adult use market with an equity-driven approach that embodies the ambitious goals of our MRTA. At this time, I'm asked, may I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-47, a resolution for the Office of Cannabis Management to issue certain conditional adult use retail dispensary licenses.
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
We have, so I think we have a motion, and Mr. Perry, would you like to second?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, are there any recusals or abstentions?
Madam Chair, I'd like to request or make a motion that we divide the vote so that I may recuse myself from applicant OCM card 406.
Okay,
And Madam Chair, if I mentioned previously, because of my work at DASNY and the work on the card program, I'll be recusing myself as well.
thank you. Okay, so recusals, we have to ask you to leave for the
I
discussion
made-
related to the specific item
I made a
that
motion.
you, I'm
We
sorry.
need to vote on the motion.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That, oh, we didn't vote on the motion to,
Divide the vote.
yes, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Can I have a second to?
One second. So
I'll
we have a
second.
motion before us to divide the vote, to extract 2020, I'm sorry, which number were you? 406. To remove OMC CAURD, OMC card hyphen 2022-000406 Housing Works application from the vote and to conduct that separately. Can we have a motion to accept the motion before us?
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will divide the vote, and then we'll have to ask for the recusals to step out. So before we move on, I'd like to ask Mr. Alexander to share remarks about this historic moment and some thoughts on the card applicants before us, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Changing my-
I can speak for all of us here, those who care about equity and justice, and those who have worked on this issue for so long, to say it's been an honor to be a part of this journey of legalization and of bringing this program to life. The applications for the conditional adult use retail dispensary licenses are the final step in the supply chain we've been building since March, when we first announced the Seeding Opportunity Initiative. Already, family farmers across New York have grown and harvested the first adult use cannabis in New York, and our processes are already hard at work transforming that harvest into a wide variety of products. The licenses we're awarding today will go to two sets of groups. The first are individuals who have a cannabis conviction or family members of those with a cannabis conviction, what we call justice-involved individuals, who have also demonstrated experience operating a successful business. The other set are nonprofit organizations that have a history of helping the recently incarcerated reenter society successfully, including on-site job training programs. These are the types of individuals and organizations that the MRTA envisioned as the bedrock of our industry. And it's incredible to see how the team here has worked so hard to bring it to life. We couldn't have done it without the communities these licenses will help support. We reached out to you, we explained our vision, our goals, and the requirements, and you responded. We had the opportunity to review 900 applications for this first group of dispensaries. There's more card licenses under review, and we'll continue to issue the licenses on a rolling basis as we have for our other license types. But right now, I am pleased to present this first batch of retail licenses, 29 qualifying business applicants and 8 nonprofit applicants being recommended for approval. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Board. Thank you, New York, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on the process to date or next steps after they receive a license.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. And we also want to say, just on behalf of the board, thank you for your leadership on this, this initiative specifically, but also to the dedication that you've exhibited throughout this entire, I'm going to say this process that New York State has been going through of trying to get us decriminalized as well as legalized. So thank you. Yes. So at this time, I'd like to ask the board, is there any discussion, question, or comments regarding the applications before us? Okay.
Well, I want to echo your comments and thank Chris, and also thank staff for working so hard on reviewing all of these applications. This is a momentous day, a very exciting thing to be part of. And, you know, it shouldn't be lost on anyone that this is really the first of its kind anywhere. And, you know, we're truly leading with equity here. So very exciting.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia? Okay. So I want to now call for the vote. And let's get this moving. Ms. Metzger?
Aye.
Oh, so I'm sorry. Let me be clear about the vote that we're actually calling. I'm calling a vote on all of the applications with the exception of OCM CARAURD hyphen 2022-000406 Housing Works. So the motion before us, the action before us is to approve a resolution issuing certain conditional adult use license, retail dispensary licenses that excludes 406. Ms. Metzger.
I vote aye.
Ms. Garcia.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative as well. And so 36 have been approved at this point. And now we will thank you. And now we will have we will take a vote on the remaining application, which is application 000406. May I have it's a motion. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve this resolution. May I have a motion?
So
I'll
moved.
make that motion.
Mr. Perry, yes. And at this time, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative as well. So the resolution inclusive of application 406 for the Office of Cannabis Management to issue certain conditional adult use retail dispensary licenses carries. Thank you. So that is a huge lift by all involved. We just want to say, I know that everyone's saying thank you to our team. I know that everyone's saying thank you to us, but we really want to say thank you to all of New York State that was really involved in bringing us forward to this point. It was a collective effort. It is not anything that we have taken lightly here in this state. We still have a long way to go, and I know that we are all just really focused on making sure that cannabis is successful in this state. This is the first time that this is being done. We invite everyone to please remain a part of this endeavor and to truly support the work that's happening. Thank you. I'm sorry, so we can invite the board members in? Yes, thank you for coming back. Everything blew up while y'all was going. No, I'm kidding. But while you were gone, we licensed 37 people. Or 37 businesses. So I'm just going to say, the next order of business before us is also going to be, might be considered a monumental step as well. It's the consideration of a comprehensive adult use regulation package. This regulation package outlines most of the rules and regulations governing cannabis businesses, from licensing fees to security requirements. May I please have a motion to consider resolution number, before we proceed, may I please get our slide moved forward just a little bit. Thank you. May I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-48, a resolution to consider adult use proposed regulations.
So moved.
Have first, may I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to ask our Executive Director, Chris Alexander, as well as his Chief of Staff, Senior Policy Director, Axel Burnaby, to provide a brief overview of the regulation package that's before us today.
Yes, another monumental action, as you stated, Madam Chair. This package is a culmination of a lot of hard work and dedication from the staff at OCM and by community members and stakeholders. I want to start with thanking staff. I want to continue with thanking those who have engaged with us in this process and on this journey. We have had so many conversations about what it would be to bring the principles outlined in the MRTA to life. The constant stakeholder and community member engagement helped shape and offer insight into this 300-page resolution package. This package will dictate the rules for this new industry. I want to thank again everybody who's engaged and been a part of this process, and I want to emphasize what happens next. We have been so proud to be an agency that has quite a bit of public engagement on the rules and regulations that we've put forward. As you see with every regulatory package, we're identifying how many folks commented or engaged with us in the process. We want to continue that going to the next stage of this. We encourage you all to review the regulations that are being proposed today. They outline the application process for licensure. They build out the tiered market structure that's outlined in the cannabis law. The industry is going to offer consumers ample choice and will create protections for small businesses that ensure the wealthy or well-connected do not dominate the market. For the moment that they apply for a license, we will require businesses to focus on their impacts on the people in their community and the environment. So to dive into substance a bit, the proposed regulations create an application process for different nursery, cultivator, micro business, cooperative, processor, distributor, and retail dispensary licenses. Some of these licenses, like cultivation licenses, have different forms. Each of the italicized cells you see in the supplier licenses table on the screen is a separate license with a unique fee structure and unique authorizations. The diverse range of licenses will allow for a diverse range of businesses to participate in the cannabis market. You may notice that there are two license types I did not mention: the delivery license and the on-site consumption license. The regulations we are proposing today include provisions which will allow for retail dispensaries to deliver cannabis to customers, but the regulations do not yet create a standalone delivery license. We have not forgotten about these license types, and we're still developing regulations pertaining to delivery and on-site consumption licenses, and will issue those regulations at a later date. The application process outlined in the proposed regulations will involve municipal governments. Municipal governments are important stakeholders. In accordance with the cannabis law, they will be permitted to regulate the time, the place, and the manner of our licensees. Applicants for retail dispensary or on-site consumption licenses must notify municipality of their intent to operate a cannabis license. And municipal governments can submit an opinion to the board on whether it should approve or deny the application. The proposed regulations also protect certain special use areas, such as school grounds and houses of worship, and they largely mirror the state liquor authority's methods for doing so. Locals do have control over the hours of operation of a dispensary, provided that it does not limit the operating hours to less than 70 hours a week. The proposed regulations also include restrictions on what local municipalities can impose on cannabis businesses. For example, the municipality is prohibited from imposing any special fees on cannabis businesses that do not apply to other businesses in the municipality. We think this will help protect our licensees from any encumbrances as they work to build out our market. I'm now going to turn it over to our Chief Equity Officer, Damian Fagan, to cover an overview of the social and economic equity provisions of the regulations.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, Harlem. I will briefly highlight a few provisions in the proposed social and economic equity regulations and close with a brief statement on both the equity work in progress and the initiatives to come. First, all applicants for licensure will be required to submit a comprehensive and measurable commitment to social and economic equity. Equity is the cornerstone of New York's cannabis industry, and we will only accept applications that demonstrate this commitment. Second, the proposed licensing regulation reaffirms our commitment to those most harmed by the disproportionate enforcement of cannabis prohibition. The first level of licensing prioritization will be for individuals who have been both convicted of a marijuana-related offense and have lived in a community disproportionately impacted by the enforcement of cannabis prohibition, what we call a CDI. The next level of licensing prioritization will go to all applicants who have lived in a CDI. And a third and fourth licensing prioritization will go to applicants who meet the criteria of distressed farmers and service-disabled veterans. This prioritization can occur during the submission, review, selection, and issuance of licenses. Additionally, all social and economic equity applicants will have a 50% reduction, waiver, or deferral of their application and licensure fee. Much of these proposed regulations are a word-for-word reiteration of the cannabis law and should come as a surprise to no one. I'll now turn to the ongoing work of the social and economic equity team here at OCM more generally. With the card program, we are addressing two of the biggest barriers to entry facing retail cannabis operators: real estate and access to capital. The team here has continued to develop and launch innovative solutions like card that are aimed at expanding access to a diverse pool of entrepreneurs. Take the recently launched Cannabis Compliance Training and Mentorship Program, a 10-week webinar series aimed at growing and diversifying the pipeline of farmers and processors in the legal market. By tomorrow, our team will have completed the review of over 600 fully narrative-based applications from some of the most uniquely exceptional horticulturalists and processors in the country. With their permission, we hope to begin sharing their stories and the amazing things they've accomplished against incredible odds when the program begins in the new year. We believe many of their stories will demystify a long neglected and demonized community that has played a significant role in building New York's pre-existing cannabis market. Our team will also continue working to identify and address additional barriers, big and small, facing all equity applicants. And this isn't just talk, we are already doing this work. Over the last several months, we've hosted a dozen community outreach listening sessions with key stakeholders from across the state, including veterans, distressed farmers, women-owned businesses, individuals from communities disproportionately impacted, and out-of-state equity operators. This outreach will continue into the new year. Y para asegurar que cada New Yorker tenga la oportunidad de hacer oír su voz, we will also host Spanish language sessions upstate and downstate. The goal of these sessions is to uplift the lived experiences of our equity stakeholders and inform the social and economic equity plan as outlined in the cannabis law. The C plan, as we call it, will outline the regulations, policies, programs, and strategic economic development initiatives of the state's equity efforts for the years to come. Now, one of the defining components that will be revealed in the C plan will be the identification of communities disproportionately impacted. The data is irrefutable. Nowhere in this country was the enforcement of cannabis prohibition weaponized more methodically against under-resourced communities than right here in New York. In the coming months, our team will make clear to the world for the first time ever the true scale of that harm. Between 1980 and 2020, there were over 1.2 million marijuana arrests across the state of New York, with approximately 1 million of those arrests occurring within the 5 boroughs. Of the over 400,000 statewide marijuana convictions across that same period, 54% of those convicted were Black, 23% Hispanic, and 21% were white. Of note here, approximately 90% of all those arrested for marijuana over the last 4 decades were men. The team here acknowledges that in our efforts to address the harm done, we risk worsening existing gender disparities in cannabis business ownership. We fully intend to redouble our efforts to ensure that women applicants receive the support they need to access this opportunity. This statewide arrest data currently being analyzed by our team will identify those communities most harmed under prohibition block by block. And it will set the parameters for how individuals who lived in those communities will be supported with licensure, grants, loans, technical training, and millions in community reinvestment funding. Let there be no mistaking what comes next. The cannabis law is first and foremost a mandate for truth, reconciliation, and restorative justice. This work will continue for many, many years to come. And when they tell us there are easier ways to do this, we will ask, easier for who? Key to achieving New York's social and economic equity goals and essential to building a sustainable, competitive, consumer-driven marketplace is the 2-tiered system enshrined in the cannabis law. I'll now turn it over to our Chief of Staff and Senior Policy Director, Axel Burnaby, who will explain in more depth.
That's awesome. Oops. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, board members. Thank you for that, Damien. Chris pointed out that this is a reg package that's essentially going to govern how we roll out the cannabis industry in New York and what we call the market architecture looks like. How are these businesses going to be structured? What are you going to be able to do with a certain business? How big can you get? How many licenses can you hold? That's a very important conversation. And as Damien said, for us, it's a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one for social equity. If you don't have a market that's grounded in small and medium-sized enterprises, if you don't have a market that controls for market concentration and the exertion of market power, you're going to have a really hard time leveling the playing field in an industry that's just starting. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of resources to run a cannabis business. We have tax implications from federal prohibition. We have a lot of headwinds. And so the most important thing we can do is make sure that these businesses have access to a competitive landscape, which isn't dominated by folks that are sort of that can wait out the losses. So the cannabis law sets a roadmap for that. And a lot of us have been working on this for many years, and that's known as the 2-tier system. And it sounds a little abstract. It sounds like it's a little bit of a policy wonk sort of conversation to have, but it really is the fundamental conversation about how we are going to organize ourselves here as a new industry. And the cannabis law sets up a system that's like alcohol. You know, liquor stores and wine shops are independently owned tiers in a retail market. If you own a supplier of alcohol, you cannot own a retailer. You can't have Budweiser, Budweiser beer store. You can't have Jack Daniel's liquor store. So the same thing is going to apply here. And these rules are in these regulations, and everybody needs to understand them. They apply to the card applicants that we just approved. All of you are going to be functioning in this framework. And for the most part, we believe that that is going to help you. It'll help you secure investment. It'll help you fend off, the possibility of competition from folks that are better heeled, and then allow you to make really the key decisions on what brands are going to be available to New Yorkers. We think it's a really exciting moment in New York. Nobody else in the country other than Washington State does this. It's a very aggressive, progressive approach to starting a new industry. In addition to these vertical restrictions, we also, the cannabis law also prohibits the number of licenses you can own. So as a cultivator, you can only have one cultivator license, or as a retailer, you can only have 3 stores. There's a reason for that. The idea is we don't want the retail tier to be dominated by someone that every retail store in the state, and same thing in cultivation. We don't want people to stack licenses and become these dominant large-scale cultivators. And we can talk about some of the implications of that from a sustainability standpoint, from a labor standpoint. So that's the 2-tier model, and we've already put out regulations and guidance in that respect, and these regulations really articulate, especially Section 124, really articulates what it is that a supplier can do. So when you go out there and you talk to some of the farmers and you say, all right, I want to buy some of your weed, and they say, well, how about this? I'm going to give you an exclusive, or I'm going to pay you extra to have that shelf in your retail location, right? That top shelf, or I'll pay you if you don't carry my competitor's product. They can't do that. Right? You guys have full autonomy. The folks that are here that are in the retail space have full autonomy to make those decisions on the basis of the product, the quality of the product, the innovation of the modality, the brand that you want to carry. It's a huge, I think, opportunity and privilege. So we're very excited about that component of it. So that's the 2-tier system. You may have heard the next slide talking about TPI, which is True Party of Interest, which is another sort of conversation that's been happening a lot. And folks are, right now, especially if you've gotten your provisional license, you're going to be asked to fill out your TPI. If you're a small business, this isn't going to be particularly difficult for you. But if you're gathering a lot of investors from all over the place, you're going to have to identify for the office every one of the investors that has an economic interest in your retailer. And you're going to ask us why. Why are we making you do this? Why are we making your life difficult? The idea is to implement what we just said about the 2-tier. The idea is if someone is investing in one retailer and then quietly through another holding company is investing through another retailer and controlling those 2 retailers, or controlling a cultivator and then trying to influence a retailer, we need to know about that. If we're truly going to have a market that's decentralized, that's democratic, that's run by small and medium-sized enterprises, we need to understand who it is that's coming in to try to dominate investment. So you'll hear about true parties of interest. It's just a process for us to gather information about the investors, and we look forward to sort of going out and educating folks more about it. We're going to be talking about the 2-tier market. We still want to get your feedback, but the cannabis law makes it pretty clear that that's the world we live in. So we all need to get comfortable with that framework. I do want to spend a couple minutes just talking about 2 other things. One is how we're operationalizing these licenses that Chris talked about. What does it mean to operate these licenses, and also the sustainability work. And I want to thank in particular a couple board members here on the operations and making sure that we protect, labor and the workers that are going to work in this new industry. Board member Garcia. And on the environmental side, a Herculean effort, and I want to specifically call out Board Member Metzger for the amount of work we've put in on the environmental side. So these are regulations that are really meant to say, if we're going to set up a new market, how do we treat people right? How do we treat the environment properly? How do we run these companies? And so you'll see, a lot of specifics about different license types and, good manufacturing practices. If you're doing your pre-rolls, what are you supposed to do? How do you have a commercial kitchen to do it in a clean way? We're trying to help folks navigate what is otherwise fairly complicated. These are foods, these are smokables. These are products that get you high. So, we want them to be the best products possible. So you'll see a lot about that kind of product in the regulations, and we really do want to hear from you on that. We have some license types that we're very excited about. Chris mentioned micro licenses. Micro licenses are able to cross the tier like a craft brewery. So if you're growing your own product and manufacturing, you can sell it. You can sell it at another location than where you made it, which is very innovative. It's a great license, and since it's a retail license, it can deliver and it can have on-site consumption. So there's a lot to unpack here. It's 300 pages, but it's more than that in terms of information. But it's not all over regulation. It's really about opportunity. These licenses are meant to be small vehicles for folks to get involved. If you want to make brownies, or you want to make vapes, or you want to make something at a small scale, you can get a micro license. We also have co-op licenses, which we're extraordinarily excited about. We canvassed the country on co-ops to try to find a way that people can band together and benefit from scale without actually having to have the capital that normally would only come with private investment. It's been very difficult to roll out co-ops in the country, and so we pieced together what we think is a really innovative approach that I hope the board will approve of. And I want to shout out in particular Damien's team and Tabitha Robinson for the work she's done in putting this together. So we'd love you to have a look at that. Any farmers here that want to band together as small farmers and create a co-op. So there's a lot to be excited about in these regulations. And last but not least is our environmental and sustainability regulations. You will see a lot of information in these regulations about that. It is not a secret that growing cannabis, especially indoor, is extraordinarily energy intensive. It is not a good use of energy and water, and it produces waste. And as you see already from the licenses that we've issued, we were focusing on outdoor growers. We were focusing on smaller growers. We really want to emphasize that in the Northeast, we're probably one of the most aggressive states when it comes to that. So we'll be focusing on that. We'll be focusing on smaller licenses. We'll be focusing on sustainable packaging, as Board Member Metzger pointed out. But we'll also ask everybody to really focus on an energy and environment plan, which is going to ask everybody to start tracking and start thinking about their energy consumption. How much energy you use? What kind of water do you use? What kind of lights are you using to the extent that you need supplemental lights? What kind of waste are you producing? How do we track that, and how do we diminish that? So there's a lot there. We tried to put more. In many instances, the board will see we put more information rather than less, and that's because this gives everybody an opportunity to see and comment on that. Some of it can be revised, some of it can be fine-tuned, and we're looking forward to doing that with you. So we're very proud of what we've done, and I want to shout out the team for all the work they put on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent, Damien. As I stated earlier, and I want to emphasize again, we are looking forward to engagement with the public on these regulations. You can email your comments to regulations@ocm.ny.gov. These regulations, if approved by the board today, will move forward for a 60-day filing. And we look forward for that engagement. The work doesn't stop here. As we get your comments back, we'll continue to fine tune and make sure that we have the best regulatory structure that we can possibly have. So with that, I turn back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for your comments and for the explanation of what is before us in that very dense document. However, what we need. And so at this moment, I'd like to ask, are there any questions or comments from the board? Mr. McDaniel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things I want to say. One is just to continue to compliment the staff on the great work they've done. 300 pages of dense information, but often, we were lucky in the sense that we're kind of late in this legalization, and we could have not learned lessons from others, and we did. And I want to compliment Chris, you and your staff on learning lessons from other states and really staying committed to the small business, the sustainability, the health and safety, and all those things are very important to our business because other states have taken an easy way out. And I think we've done a great job of really creating a regulation package that will give state of New York a wonderful, wonderful industry. So just want to compliment everybody on that. Great job on that.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
I guess I would like to just also echo your thanks of staff. We had a lot of back and forth, and these proposed regs have landed in a really great place, and they are very comprehensive on the sustainability front, But I just want to point out that sustainability and equity are mutually supporting goals. And, we have seen unsustainable, unequitable development of this industry in other states. And, we're setting the industry on a new course here. And, as we've been working on this, I've been thinking all along, like, why does this just apply to cannabis? This is really potentially a model for the wider economy to be promoting a kind of economic development that supports and reinforces the values that we care about and we share. So I'm really looking forward to getting everyone's feedback on this. It was a Herculean effort to put all of this together in this time frame. And we appreciate everyone's patience too, because we know everyone's been waiting for this. So thank you very much.
Indeed.
Well, I'd also like to echo the thanks to the staff. This was just an amazing process to work with you through it all. These regs for me are a point of pride because of the labor protections that Axel mentioned. We are not only creating an industry that's going to create generational wealth for entrepreneurs, but really we're looking to support communities by creating really good jobs with family sustaining wages and benefits, and the labor protections that the industry needs to make sure that we're doing the work safely in these enterprises. So I'm super excited. I'm also excited that while this is not about the medical program, we are also creating a way for the medical program to also flourish and make sure that patients have the product that they need, and continue to, I look forward to continuing to work with the staff to make sure that continues to be the case. So thank you to all of you for this just amazing work, and to my colleagues on the board as well for all that they contributed to these regulations. And really today's just an amazing day.
Yeah.
Any additional comments, Mr. Perry? Do you have any? No. Okay.
No, thank you.
Just wanted to make sure.
No, thank you. Just echoing everybody else's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think that is really the sentiment of the day. We are most appreciative of the work that's involved in creating all of this and everything that you all have contributed consistently throughout this process to get us here, to allow us to, and to allow us to have a working document that is this detailed and this substantive, that's going to really help guide the conversation forward. And the incorporation of all of our lessons learned, as Ruben said, that's probably one of the biggest things that has helped us to move this along as quickly as possible, is having had a moment to pause and think about what has worked and what we can do differently. We're doing something different here in New York. We're trying something different. We have asked for your patience. You have been extremely generous with your time, your energy, and your support. We are hopeful that you will continue to engage with us and that you send your comments. You see it's regulation at ocm.ny.gov. This is an ongoing process. This industry will be great because we will all have contributed to it, not just as workers and owners, but really as thought partners in what it could be. So I want to say thank you again to our team here in the House, but also thank you to all of you that have been continuously participating. And without further ado, if there are no further questions and comments, I want to ask, I would like to call for the vote. So, Member Garcia.
Aye.
Member Metzger.
Aye.
Member McDaniel.
Aye.
Member Perry.
Aye.
And I vote in the affirmative as well. The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-48, a resolution to consider adult use proposed regulations. However, we're not done with regulations. So next, we would like to move forward and consider the hearing and enforcement emergency regulations, because we know we're not going to we need to have that in place here in New York. So may I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-49, a resolution to direct the Office of Cannabis Management to file for adoption certain emergency violations hearing, and I'm hearing that twice. I think we may have emergency violations hearing and violations
And enforcement.
And enforcement,
Yeah.
thank you. I was gonna say. Resolution. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative as well. The resolution number 2022-49, a resolution to direct the Office of Cannabis Management to file for adoption certain emergency violations, hearing and enforcement passes. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Alexander, if you can please give your executive director's report, please.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. What a year. It is crazy to think that just a year ago today, we were having our first board meeting, coming together, you five, stepping into this role of leadership over New York's market. The few handful of staff that we had at time, folks still volunteering their time to help us get up and running while their paperwork was happening, was being processed. It has been an incredible year leading this project and building off of really what has been the better part of the last decade of work on this issue. I want to congratulate staff, as has been said, by every board member here. We are incredibly appreciative of the staff here and the work and the tireless hours you have put in. But from staff as well, I want to say thank you to the board for your leadership, for your willingness to engage, to bring your experiences and your wisdom to this work has been incredibly inspiring. To have an engaged board, to have a board that cares about this issue and cares about what we're building, and making sure that we're going to have a program that's sustainable, but that is closely tied to the mission that the MRTA has laid out. In just this year, we have now issued 277 cultivation licenses. We've issued 34 processor licenses, and we have just now issued our first retail licenses. In 1 year of operation, the New York State Office of Cannabis Management and New York State Control Board have established a supply chain for adult use cannabis in the state of New York in a single year timeframe. We have done so while starting with remote work. We have done so while starting without office space, without papers, without pens, without people. We have still moved forward and built out this program in a way that centers equity and justice at the forefront. We are doing what we said we would do when that law was passed last year. We've also launched the most expansive public health and education campaign. Thank you, Lila, for your work on that. That brought brought all New Yorkers up to speed on what this cannabis law has done, the change in public policy, the focusing on public health outcomes for consumers and patients alike. We've expanded the medical cannabis program, ensuring that patients have access, continued and easier access to medical cannabis, to the medicine that they need. And we have formalized the cannabinoid hemp program. We have done that all in a year. Now, we move forward. Our focus is in getting our licensees, our initial licensees, all that they need to be successful, as well as preparing the next round, the next tranche of cannabis operators in this space with all that they need to be successful. We have started with equity, but we don't stop. We will keep going. Equity is not a thing in this program, it is the thing. And so we'll continue to create opportunities for people to participate, for folks who have access to additional resources so that they are successful in this space. Last month, we opened the application window for the Cannabis Compliance Training and Mentorship Program that Damien mentioned. This 10-week program is based on existing farmer apprenticeship and fellowship programs and has the explicit goal of growing and diversifying the pipeline of farmers and processors preparing to participate in our industry. Holders of the adult use conditional cultivator and conditional processor licenses must participate in the program and help train this new generation of cannabis entrepreneurs. Participants will take a series of structured webinars covering a range of topics on cannabis cultivation and processing and agribusiness and regulatory compliance. The application window closed November 3rd, and we've received over 600 applications for this first of its kind program. This is a model for what we're going to continue to do. with each license type, creating opportunities for folks to get the training and support that they need to be successful. We're also going to continue to work to expand the medical program. We're completing the assessment of comments received for the last batch of regulations for the medical cannabis program. We're presenting this back to the board for consideration at an upcoming meeting. Additionally, we're working on guidance for researchers, as well as beginning to work on regulations to support research licenses. Lastly, we are excited to have another board meeting very soon for the Cannabis Advisory Board. That's been scheduled on December 1st, and we look forward to rolling out more information on that board's activities to you all in the immediate future. I am incredibly thankful and honored every day I get to go to work and work on this project that I care so much about. And thank you all again for your support and for your partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And at this time, we're going to keep the momentum going with some more good news and good vibes. I'm going to ask our board member, Mr. Ruben McDaniel, if you make your presentation now.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that and appreciate all the good words and good work that we've been doing. You know, one of the challenges, and we've talked about this over the past year, that other states have had with their social equity programs is the inability to provide access to capital for these successful social equity entrepreneurs. And so the state of New York is committed to making sure that is not an impediment for our entrepreneurs. So DASNY, my day job, we've been working over the past 6 to 9 months on identifying locations and beginning to work on assisting these licensees that have now been awarded with their physical locations through both financing mechanisms and in building. So Ben, hold on one second. Hold on one second, Ben. So what we've done is, as many of you know, we have worked with 10 design build firms with a real estate partner and with our staff to identify locations throughout the state to locate great retail adult use dispensaries. We've begun negotiating leases and terms, not paying any cannabis tax, if you will, allowing people to get in a good way. We'll now begin engaging with each of the licensees on specific locations and helping them find their locations, helping them get the building done and constructed, and even things like banking and insurance, to the extent that they need assistance with that. We have established some banking partners and insurance partners as well, so that we can have a robust system. In addition, all these licenses come with delivery, and so we can begin the market almost immediately by allowing our licensees to begin delivering cannabis that's been grown here in New York. So we're very excited that today, with all the approved licensees, we can begin selling good old New York State cannabis throughout the state of New York. So one great thing about working at a construction company, okay, Ben, you can come up now. I brought some renderings with me. Let me see. So Stanley, you're holding what will be the entrance to the cannabis dispensaries. I'll hold it up so people can see it. Put it stand up. So this is a rendering of an actual location we're working on now. Greater Harlem area. That's why I point out a few elements. So this is the exterior rendering.
Thank you. Yeah.
Where you see the social equity, this will be obviously the business license. We have staff, people assist with getting the design. You can see we have 2 elements, I think, important here. This element is for the general public. This element is for delivery and for restaurants. So both these process very quickly. This is something that failed, so we get a lot of congestion here. So we've taken that element and put it here.
Oh, windows.
Walk into the dispensary. We'll have the secondary.
Under attack.
Yeah. Area to check in before you go to the back.
Yep. Thank you.
Finally, Thanks, Stanley. General look at here of the display cases, point of sale systems, and all of that. State of the art. Standard elements throughout the state. So each licensing will pick colors and different. Licensee will have some input into how they're. High-end elements, sales systems in place. All this will be connected. We will have really our first places that are open will be state-of-the-art facilities. I'm really proud of the work that we've done at DASNY. Look forward to work with these entrepreneurs. And
Thank you. And thank you for all of the work that's going into making the spaces ready and prepared. As you all know, our goal here in the state is to have sales by the end of the year. So this work is laying the groundwork. This is what's going to make it possible. It's all of us coming together. It's every unit doing their part, and it is a big lift. So while we're super excited that we were able to issue licenses today, you see all the work that has preceded this moment, and this is the manifestation of it. So thank you again.
thank you.
And as many of you already know, starting today and moving forward, we are going to have a public comment period. Just to be clear, I just want to lay the ground rules for how our comment period is going to operate today and probably moving forward. We are not answering questions. It is a comment period. You will be allocated 2 minutes to speak, and only the folks who are actually here in person are going to be able to speak during this meeting. If I'm gonna say, if you want if you are not here today, you are able to send your comments in writing, and they will be incorporated into the official transcript. But we are unable to actually have people speaking from remote locations at this time. So just a reminder, you have 2 minutes to speak. Today we will hear from as many as 10 members of the public before ending the meeting. And is there a timer? Is there a timer they can see? Okay, perfect. So we are going to ask our staff to
Madam Chair,
take the mics and bring it. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peebles-Stokes is here present in the Buffalo location.
Oh,
And she would like
you
to
didn't even say.
make comments, if possible, as close to the beginning or at the beginning as you can accommodate first. She's here at the Buffalo location.
Yes. Thank you, Majority Leader, for joining us today. And thank you for all the work that you've done to get us to this point. We could not have done it without your leadership. So I'm actually going to ask if everyone will oblige me this privilege, that if we allow the Majority Leader to be our first comment, but she'll be the 11th. So we'll still maintain 10 from the public, but let's begin with Majority Leader Crystal Peebles-Stokes from Buffalo.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I just really want to quickly say how proud I am of all of you, Madam Chair, your entire board, and the way you've governed to allow this amazing staff to set up an agency, a brand new agency, by the way. That's never happened before in the state of New York around this issue. And in fact, it's never happened anywhere in America. Just create an agency that focuses on equity and social justice is just an amazing thing. And I am so godly proud of every single one of you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will say that it's a little disappointing to sit here and see a list that doesn't include my beloved Buffalo, but I know that we're going to have that as well. And at this point, we'll get through whatever these people want to do or try to do to us in the court systems while equity is being tried in court. It's kind of sad that we're in 2022 and equity has to be on trial when everybody should be pushing towards equity. But I know that we'll win this case, and when we do, I look forward to those lists that include some other people, particularly those from those regions, including my beloved Buffalo, that have been left out. By the way, I did take a look at the list of people that you have listed. I know you're going to be giving more licenses, and I hope that it is more inclusive, that adds more people, because quite honestly, I know of a tremendous number of people who have put in applications that I did not see on this list. So I know that there's an opportunity coming up for them soon, and I will look forward to that day when it happens. Again, thank you all so very much for your work. I'm so proud of you. So proud.
Thank you, and thank you for your comment. And where would you like for them to come? Are they coming up to speak? Okay. So we have randomly selected 10 participants. You have 2 minutes. I'll call your name and please come forward to the microphone right here at the podium to make your statements. Bazaar Royal or Royale? Bazaar Royale? Thank you. And just so you know, the following Bazaar Royale is going to be Ruchi Shah. So you can stand in queue. Is Bazaar here? All right, come on up, please. You're speaking right here at the mic, making your comment. You got 2 minutes, so please.
No, easy. Real simple question. I just wanted to know if the lawsuits that are happening, if they're affecting Brooklyn, and how long, and what are y'all doing to, is that going to affect us like it's affected other states in the process with the lawsuits from the dude from Michigan who they said they're not doing anything for Brooklyn or Westchester, but that. I just wanted to make sure as a representative of Brooklyn, if that's going to affect us in any shape, form, or fashion with the delay.
Okay, so we are not able to actually give you any additional information regarding the litigation at this time. We're also not here to answer questions at this moment. This is really about a comment period, but information related to I'm going to say, I think Ben is over here. He works at the office. I think Ben should be able to, and should be able to take questions. If you have specific questions that need an answer, especially if it's something specific to you and or your application, please direct it to Ben so that he can get follow-up for you that's necessary. We at this time are not doing a Q&A. It really is about the comment. And more importantly, we're not able to comment on the litigation. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. Ruchi Shah. Followed Ruchi will be David Feldman.
Hello, how's it going? Can you guys hear me?
Hello. Yep, just
Yes.
speak into the mic.
So I'm gonna rephrase my question into basically in a comment. My comment is very simple. We have in New York City, as you guys all know, we have existing tobacco shops with actual state licenses. Are you guys planning on integrating these tobacco shops into letting them be a part of the cannabis industry, or if there'd be more information on that later on? That's what I was looking for exactly.
Okay.
So it's more of a question, but try to
I
change your
get,
comment.
I understand, but it is a comment too. So we're
Yeah.
hearing it and we're going to ask you to get the answer. If you just move over, give them your contact, and then you'll be able to follow up with him. So we have David Feldman and then Cheryl Murray Powell. Cheryl, sorry.
I'm glad I'm not following Cheryl. Good morning.
Hey.
2 quick points. One is the advisory board you've got, when I look at the list, I think 1 or 2 have some experience in the industry and the rest have none. And they may have useful ability to guide you, but we are hopeful that there might be a better way to formalize and implement more interaction with representatives from the industry on a more direct and consistent basis. That's number 1. Secondly, this industry was built with capital that came from wealthy individuals, family offices, crowdfunding. And many of us are concerned that while you want to make sure that big cannabis, big tobacco, big alcohol don't dominate here, and I think most of us agree with that. We want to make sure you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and make sure that folks who just want to help these businesses grow, these licenses that you just granted, to be able to be successful. But telling them, well, you can't invest in a retail here if you own 1% of a cultivator in Oregon. That seems like something hopefully you'll be willing to take another look at. And that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Cheryl, and then we'll follow with Joseph Bondi.
Hello, thank you for all of your work. My name is Cheryl Marie Powell Esquire. I'm a cannabis, agricultural, dietary supplement, and trade attorney, native New Yorker, and I'm the COO of the Justice Foundation. This is a very proud day for all New Yorkers, especially as we've seen what's happened across the country. I stand here with one of my Justice Fellows who was successful with the conditional adult use retail dispensary license. I want to commend the board for your fortitude in ensuring that social equity was at the forefront of everything that you've done to date. Being consistent with your words as far as the pacing of this rollout. I've been very vocal about commending the board for that. I appreciate the commitment to sustainability. I appreciate the commitment to public safety. And thank you for incorporating the public comments. The Justice Foundation has submitted public comments for not only the card license type, but also the packaging and advertising rules. And I'm seeing that you have incorporated those public comments. So as a member of the ASTM International D37 Committee on Cannabis, is on the executive committee as the chair of the DEI committee. I also appreciate that you have incorporated the ASTM universal symbol in your work. So enjoy this moment as a board, enjoy this moment as New Yorkers, and I look forward to seeing what's coming next. I look forward to supporting what is coming next. And this is a great day in New York cannabis history. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chef. Mr. Bondi, and then Joseph Lawhorn. I think it says Longhorn, sorry.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
How
I'm
are
Joseph
you?
A. Bondi, and I'm an attorney in New York. I'm on the National Board of Directors for NORML. I actually co-chair the board's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Disability Committee. And I have two comments that were questions, but they're comments. One is there were regulations put forth on November 8th, and particularly paragraph 34. I had a client that applied for a card license and thought it was a good thing that he had cannabis experience out of state. It was a cultivation experience. He would now appear to be foreclosed from having his card application granted. I'd submit that that's somewhat unfair. The other question I have, or comment I have, is that by granting card licenses to people in certain regions of the state, but holding them up on other regions of the state, some of those people who've now been held up will lose first mover status, will lose some of the benefits that they should also have been entitled to. And I just want to make that note.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Mr. Longhorn, and then we'll follow up with Erin Spencer.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Good morning. First, I want to thank y'all for all the great work y'all done. I appreciate y'all. But I want to comment on about injustice involved individuals. I feel like some of us might have been excluded by the criteria. Considering, like, you know, some people might just came home from jail and don't have the acquired business experience to get the application, to get the license. So hopefully on the next round, you could like make sure like it be more accessible to like all justice involved individuals. And that's pretty much all I had to say. But thank you, y'all doing a great job. I appreciate y'all.
Erin Spencer, followed by Nicholas Garino. Is Erin here? I'm here, but I passed. You passed. Nicholas Garino, followed by Ronald Schuler.
Hello. I'm Nicholas Guarino from Naturally, New York. We're a conditional adult use processor. We actually just approved today. So thank you. And I guess just quickly to say, very impressed with your guys' diligence, with how quickly you've gotten all of this out. And every day for us in all of our meetings is like, oh, what's the OCM going to say? Is it actually going to be what they said that it's going to happen? Is it going to be this year? And you guys surprised us, and it's been incredible what you've been able to do in 1 year, for sure. And to all of that work, I guess there's one specific area where as licensees we're very concerned that all of this incredible work could be undercut. And it seems like just one little detail where it's like, how are they missing that? And so I guess I'll put it into a statement. That thing that can undercut that is the implementation of a track and trace system to protect all the licensees in the state. So without it, my opinion is that the licenses that we hold are essentially worthless because cheaper out-of-state raw material and even finished products will be imported from other states into New York. And that we just won't be able to deal with that competition, right? Like California is just they're in a parallel universe to where New York producers are. So the question was going to be, when will it be announced that we're going to be mandated to work under track and trace? And maybe the point is like, well, we don't want to overwhelm the licensees with regulation. We don't want to do so. Well, it's actually a disservice to us if we don't have that track and trace in place. And again, with all the thing that I said previously, where I'm super impressed with the work, that it's just one little detail that if we don't put BioTrack in place and make everybody work under it, all of the big companies that I've met with and talked to that are from out of state are like, we're going to come crush you, you know? So, because there just won't be any way for you guys to know that that's happening. So anyway, that's it. And I'm sure you guys are considering it. So thank you.
Thank you. Ronald Schuler, followed by David Feeder, sorry.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ronald Schuler. I live here in the community, right? And the other gentleman that came up was speaking about the people involved in the criminal justice system. And I went online to apply for the application. I felt it was totally overwhelming. And I thought that some of the criteria and some of the things that you needed was like incomprehensible to me where I come from. You know what I mean? And I don't think it was fair. You know, and I felt that it was like a process that was built to exclude me. You know what I'm saying? I feel totally excluded. I feel totally misrepresented, you know, no support. I met somebody today. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad this thing is happening, but I feel unrepresented. I felt no support, and I was afraid to submit my application because I felt like I'm going to lose my $2,000. You know what I mean? And I met somebody today who said they're going to help me through this process, but I think you should reconsider the things you asked for. You asked for me who've been to prison and been to jail to have all of this experience without, you know, taking me through the experience process and helping me to uplift myself to become a part of it. Because here in Harlem, I've been, my children, I'm 61, I got kids, 41 and 28 who've been affected. And now I feel like this whole application process just excluded me and my family. So I think you should reconsider all the criteria. Thanks.
Thank you. And David. There we go.
Hi, everybody. David Fader. I'm a lawyer in New York, a cannabis attorney of a company called Weed Law, and I've represented a number of applicants on this CORD process. Several of them one of them was approved today, and I won't say which one, have members that had interest in other businesses out of state that were not retail. And we were very concerned because we submitted the application under the regulations, and this is similar to what another individual mentioned before, is that we submitted applications based upon the understanding of the regulations at the time. So we're a little bit concerned about the applications that may be in jeopardy. We want to make sure that we can comply with the regulations. We want to adhere to all the rules. So we want to just have an opportunity to address those things. We don't know how best to do them. That's the first one. The second point is I have a number of clients in my regular practice that own pharmacies. And these pharmacists are getting a lot of questions from people asking about cannabis and products. And these are their primary care pharmacists that know their medications that they're taking, a lot of elderly people. So we have just wanted to propose perhaps maybe considering allowing pharmacies throughout New York to also dispense cannabis, perhaps in a way where it's or at least a limited number of cannabis products. So it's maybe not a full-blown dispensary, but at least that they can guide their patients through consistent products that they know will not interact with their medicines. And then finally, I know the board voted today regarding the NY Canna application. We have an ongoing litigation from that in that license. I was a member of that license. We won it in 2015. And we've been chasing it since it got stolen from us for a long time. And we're really hoping that the board would not allow any further dispensation or any other transfers of this license until the 4-year litigation that's been going on is resolved. We're seeking a preliminary injunction. We have a case, it's ongoing. So we really appreciate what we've been doing, and this is an incredible effort, and I applaud all the work that you've done, and I just hope that we can continue on the right path.
Thank you. And the last comment from Deshita Dawson. I don't think she's in the room right now. Oh, you are. There she is. Thank you.
Before I get started, I'm just going to humbly ask the board if I could have no more than 5 minutes. I apologize for the length. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Deshita Dawson, founding director of Cannabis NYC in the Department of Small Business Services. Thank you to Madam Chair, Tremaine Wright, and the rest of the Cannabis Control Board for convening us for this historic meeting. And congratulations to Executive Director Chris Alexander and the entire team of the Office of Cannabis Management, many of which I've had the pleasure of working with over the last 6 weeks as I onboarded into this new role, overseeing the city's interagency interactive initiative to support the state's social and economic equity goals for this budding multi-billion-dollar industry. Now, despite being new to the role, as my record of testimony and advocacy reflects, I've been fighting for the plug to be legit in New York and across the country for many years. A cannabis patient first and foremost, I left New York sick, unable to qualify for a poorly developed medical cannabis program, and still suffering from the trauma growing up in East New York, Brooklyn, a community disproportionately impacted by cannabis criminalization. Like so many millions of closeted consumers, I contributed to the multi-billion-dollar demand circulating in the previously existing so-called underground cannabis market, a market that is rich with a legacy of diversity, cultural influence, and above all, community. Today, I'm here to say thank you. Thank you to the state and the community advocates behind me who have held the line on the equity needed throughout the state. I'm so proud to be a native New Yorker as we make intentional historic steps to transition the legacy into a legitimate industry, essentially transforming a tool of systemic oppression into one of wealth generation and health equity, particularly for those neighborhoods like East New York, still suffering from the weight of over-policing and disinvestment. But undoubtedly, we need all hands on deck to see it through, and New York City is here to represent in a big way. From day one, Mayor Adams made equity a primary focus of his administration, and at the center of our blueprint for economic equity and the heart of Cannabis NYC's approach to this emerging cannabis industry is equity. Brilliantly located within the Department of Small Business Services, where we specialize in helping New Yorkers start and grow businesses, Cannabis NYC has already been working hard to support New Yorkers eager to enter the industry and participate. But we can't stop and won't stop. So in the coming weeks and months, we will roll out a curated Cannabis NYC programming specifically to support what the state has presented here, which is a healthy rollout of an ecosystem of both licensed and ancillary businesses. This is just the beginning, and on this journey, we are the masters of our fate. So I encourage everyone to actively build coalition with one another. Be positively engaged in this process, recognizing that working together, we can overcome obstacles meant to derail the mission. I know this because of the journey we've taken thus far. As a cannabis patient, I am beyond grateful for this start and the work that the state has already done. And as a public servant, I'm here to be a bridge. And under Cannabis NYC, we will provide the resources and infrastructure to ensure we can be successful in our state's vision of an inclusive, equitable, and sustainable legal cannabis industry. The work continues. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was our last speaker for today. I want to thank everyone for participating, for showing up. It's always really important for us to hear from you to better understand the range of issues that are and interests that affect the work that we are going to embark upon and to grow. This has been an eventful meeting. I want to let you know that we've heard your comments. We will take those comments and move forward with them, make sure the thoughtfulness is incorporated into the work that we continue to push forward. I just want to mention to you that our next control board meeting, we will be posting the information in advance on the cannabis.ny.gov website. It will include the time, location, as well as a live stream link. And you can also find a recording of today's meeting, our meeting minutes, and a transcript on the site as well. That concludes today's agenda items. And may I please have a motion to adjourn this meeting? We have a motion, we have a second.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. It is done, and we are officially adjourned. Thank you.